Hi, everybody. This is a subject that I don't like to talk about in the realm of what we're going to talk about it in. You know, we had this terrible shooting in Florida, and first of all, I wanted to wait a little while before I talked about it into detail because there's family members and people that are suffering, so I didn't want to, talk about it right away. But the truth of the matter is that there are multiple reasons why there are gun attacks. None of them have to do with the gun. They all have to do with the individual with the gun and the lack of security, the lack of common sense, the culture, the actual culture that is created in this country. What I mean by that is we have people in Hollywood. Now, I'm going to stop myself for a second. I know that I've been trying not to get too political in my videos because I'm trying to stick to my message of being functional and adapting and so forth. But every once in a while I need to get into it because because there are things that happen in the political realm that aren't functional. And this is one of them. Gun control is not functional. We have multiple examples of this being true. Everything from other countries that have that don't even allow guns in their country, and they still have shootings, they still have mass killings with knives and bombs. Everything, in Chicago, everyone knows the story of Chicago. It's just, the truth of the matter is that schools have become targets for mass shooters because of the culture that we live in. And for multiple reasons. And we live in a society now where people don't appreciate life. Life isn't considered important. That's why people look at abortion as, it's just birth control. That's why people don't look what happened in Chicago. Do you realize that in the same day that the 17 victims of the shooting were murdered by that evil, crazy 19 people were shot in Chicago. You don't hear about those 19 people because they were black. Now, I don't believe in extended racism like a lot of politicians do, but don't you find that funny? That you have a city that on a daily basis has more shootings and more killings than that goes on in the country combined, but yet we don't talk about it. Because guns aren't the real issue. It's the person with the gun that's the issue. We have a mental health issue here that's being disguised as a gun control issue. And that's not functional. You don't solve a problem by politicizing it and changing the subject and trying to do things that aren't going to change anything. And that's what's sad about this. I mean, as a person who's big on guns for self-defense, huge on guns for self-defense, I believe that if you don't own a gun for self-defense in your family, that you're not supplying your family with the ability to be safe. Because look at this There's people like me. I've been training and teaching martial arts for 45 years. I've been a bouncer, a bodyguard. I've been shot at. I've been stabbed. I've been in fights. I can sit here all day long and do 3 hours of telling you the stories of fights that I've been in. And I cannot defend my family against somebody with a gun. So if I can't do it, what is somebody who's just the average American who doesn't know 1/10 of someone like me? How are you going to defend your family? You can't. Okay? And my other issue is the functionality of political parties using children. Now, you have these children that are making these statements about the NRA being the cause of this tragedy, which is just an outright crazy statement to say. What's responsible for this tragedy is the psychopath pulling the trigger. In combination of the fact that nobody's done anything about this for decades. There are simple things to do to keep our schools safe, but people don't want to do what's functional. They want to do what helps their personal cause. Okay? And that irritates me, because this is the lives of people that are here. You don't stop. There's only one way to stop a bad man with a gun. And that's to have a good man with a gun. That's the only way. You cannot take away the guns from law-abiding citizens. That doesn't stop the bad guy from killing people. It never has. It never will. What you have to realize, that you cannot regulate evil. Now, I don't want to get into the nitty-gritty of politics right now, but there are people in politics that want to tell you that through laws and regulations that they can regulate and control evil people's thinking and conduct. You can't. We couldn't do it thousands of years ago. We're not going to be able to do it ever. There will always be psychopaths out there that want to harm you, that want to kill you, that want to kill people because they can. And the only way to stop those people is to have good, God-fearing, law-abiding citizens who are able and willing to defend themselves and their community. That's the only way. So my message to you political people that are using our children, putting them up there and letting them make... First of all, these are children that are gullible and don't understand the facts about life. And you know that. You should be ashamed of yourself. Do you really believe that these high school kids know what's best for the country? You know why you say things like that? Because you want them to vote for you when they turn 18. Because you're telling them how smart they are. When you know they're not smart. When I was 18, I was a dumbass. Everybody is. We all do stupid things when we're young. We believe gullible things. How many people now that are in their 20s look back and go, man, when I was 16, 17 years old, I had my shit together. I was so smart. Okay? So you young people, you're being used. I'm not saying you're stupid. I'm not saying your opinion doesn't matter. I'm saying that the people that are using you to promote their point of view are using you. Okay? That's the truth of the matter. The truth of the matter is that if you look at the statistics of guns, if you look at everything that goes on with guns, that they aren't the issue. The issue is the people with the guns. You know, the media never tells you, but every year there's approximately 2.5 million people that lives are saved by guns. They never tell you that. Never. They never tell you that I believe it's 92 and 93% of all these shootings happened in no-gun zone places, where the bad guy knows no one's there with a gun. Now, to me, that doesn't even sound logical in any sense of the way. Now, you as an American, you have a right to think whatever it is you want to think, to believe whatever it is you want to believe. If you want to believe guns are bad, you have a right to believe that. But my advice to you is, why do you believe something that's not backed up with facts? Why do you believe something that's based on your emotion? It doesn't make any sense to me, because you're not going to solve the problem by ignoring facts. It doesn't solve problems. It just creates more problems. We do have a gun problem in America, and part of it is we have a bunch of people trying to blame guns for the problem. There are over 100 million Americans in this country that own guns. Okay? And the guns aren't the issue. Keeping our children safe is the issue. And how dare you politicians use such tragedy and evil things happening as a way to promote your ideological beliefs? Especially when, I guarantee you, you've heard me say this before, there are two kinds. I know I'm going to get into the politics a little deeper now, but there are basically two kinds of liberals. There are the ones that know all this stuff is a lie And they're the useful idiot ones. The ones that don't pay attention to statistics, the ones that don't pay attention to truth, the ones that listen to the other ones say all this stuff. The ones that are pushing the Sal Lewinsky stuff. I believe it's rule number 4 on his list of rules was gun control. Take the guns away from people so they can't defend themselves. So they're dependent on the government. Now let me ask you this. I want you to open up your brain. You people that are against guns right now, open up your brain and just listen to what I'm saying. Do you have police officers that follow you and your family around 24/7? That are there to protect you and your family? Do you? Well, of course you don't. So how are you going to protect your family if you don't have a gun? How? How is that going to happen? Or is protecting your family not as important as protecting your ideological beliefs? That's my question to you. Because what the most important thing to me, what my number one job is to keep my family safe. And my question to you anti-gun people is, how can you do that if you don't own a gun? And I don't want to hear your utopian version of the world where nobody has any guns and they're all gone. Oh, except for the rich people who have their personal protection, and the Hollywood people, and of course the politicians, and of course the cops got to have guns. So it's not that a bodyguard or a cop or any of those people can go crazy and shoot people. It's not that. I mean, do you understand where you're going wrong? There's no logic in what you're saying and what you're believing. The truth of the matter is, and this is a cliche, but it has to be said, guns don't kill, people kill. Okay? No, if you really cared about our youth and about and it's not that I don't believe you don't care, because there are a lot of anti-gun people who just don't know better. But like I said, you have a right as an American to believe whatever you want to believe. It's just that if you believe in something that's not based on facts, how intelligent are you? How strong is your belief system if it's not based on the facts? It's one of the reasons why a lot of martial artists that don't spar and don't have actual combat situations in their training don't know how to fight, because there's no there's nothing real about their training. Well, it's the same thing when it comes to common sense. What are you basing your belief system on? Is it based on common sense, or is it based on something you want to happen? I'm a perfect example of that. I would sure love to go jab cross, but I can't. I gotta go jab back fist. Okay, I can't live in the world that I want. I have to live in the world that there is. Okay, so you can't live in this world where there are no guns and we can keep our doors unlocked and everyone smiles and kisses and hugs everybody all day long, because no matter what you do, no matter what you say, no matter what happens, there's going to be 10 to 20% of the population that wants to take what you have, wants to hurt you, wants to rape you, wants to kill you, wants to do what they want with you. And you have to have the ability to stop them. This is a very emotional thing for me, because I believe it's one of the things that is tearing our country apart. Now, you have a right, like I said, to disagree with me, but you don't have a right to take away my rights as an American. If you want to bury your head in the sand and not protect your family, then you have the power to do that. But you do not have the right to stop me and other Americans that don't believe you in that same way of thinking from stopping us from defending our families. You don't have that right. And by the way, and this has happened to me multiple times, not so much with a gun, but with the physical aspect of stuff, is multiple times I've had people who don't know how to fight depend on me to protect them. It's the same thing with the guns. All your neighbors that don't own guns and are anti-guns, when the shit goes down in their neighborhood, when something's going wrong, they're going to be running to their friends or their neighbors that they thought were dumbass hicks, old or whatever, that have guns to protect them. And you know what? We will protect you, because we believe in doing what's right. And I'm not saying that you don't believe what's doing what's right, because I don't want to be divide people. What I'm saying is you're confused about what's right and wrong. You're basing what you believe is right on what you think should happen, not what actually can happen. Okay? So, you got to live in the world of reality. And the reality is we've got to protect our kids. And the only way to do that is to have better gun laws in the sense of these people. If you look at what happens to these people, most of these people shouldn't have guns. Why is this happening? I have no problem with background checks, but you got to stop the lies. You can't go into a gun show and buy a gun without a background check. Every gun show has to apply to the state laws and federal laws, period. You don't get to... I've bought lots of guns at gun shows. It's the same thing as going to a gun store. You don't get to bend the rules and stuff because you're at a gun show. That's what I mean. This is what irritates me. If you believe something, then don't believe the lies. Sit here and tell me you believe guns are evil. That's fine. But don't tell me a bunch of lies about why you think they're evil. Don't tell me a bunch of lies about statistics that aren't true to back up your story. This is what traditional martial arts do that have never fought. They sit there and tell you about this kata and this form and this, this technique and all this stuff like that, but they've never applied it in combat. They've never had to use it. They never sparred. So their whole shit is shit. It's the same thing with your argument. Base what you believe in on the facts. Find out the facts. Don't just say, oh, I feel this way and that's just the way it is. Because that's ridiculous. That's what little kids do. That's what kids do. Okay? When my granddaughter comes to me and tells me that she's going to marry SpongeBob, okay, would you as an adult say that? Oh yeah, I'm going to marry SpongeBob. I mean, do you understand? Do you have to live in the world of reality? Okay? We all can come to agreement that we need to defend our schools and our kids from this happening. But we're not going to make it happen by making up a bunch of effing lies about what's happening. Just to pat people's back and make them feel good about themselves. Because that's what it comes down to. Oh, I'm anti-gun, so I'm not evil like those NRA members. And oh, I'm so this and that. While you're sitting back and letting your children being killed and blaming the NRA for it. That just doesn't make any sense. Okay? And using people in the time of grief is just ridiculous. There are people dead, injured. Families that are going to be without their loved ones. We need to fix this problem. It's not going to be fixed by being dysfunctional. We have to be functional. Functional with our decision making. Not pleasing our egos. And that's what it comes down to. Liberals want to please their egos by absolutely being right even when they're wrong. Go back to the martial arts. You know how ridiculous that would be if someone shows me a technique and no matter what I try to apply that technique, even though I keep getting punched in the face and I keep trying it and trying it and trying it. Well, how long before I just say that technique sucks, I'm not going to do it? Not very long, because I learn my lessons pretty quick when it comes to getting punched in the face. So what is wrong with you people? Let's come together as a country and solve this problem. All right? Solve the problem based on functional, reasonable thinking. Not emotional, crazy thinking based on what you want, not what is real. God bless America.